Public art is interesting in that it has the accidental encounter. I've seen people jogging down this path or riding their bikes, and they're coming along and they go by the image, and then they hit the brakes and kind of back up, and they stand there and they've got this encounter, and then they get self-conscious that they're staring because you're invited to stare.
Public art on the Riverwalk adds another dimension of interest. There's an opportunity to celebrate local artists, taking your average infrastructure and turning it into a canvas. Really speaks to cultural expression and who we are and where our society's going. So it's an important element for the Riverwalk.
Out here, the light changes, the sound changes. There's the flow of the river, but there's also the flow of traffic. And even encountering the soundtrack, if you will, of the river, I've seen people stop and say, I've never thought of the traffic as being like water. But it is. So the biggest thing you can do with a public art integration is have people just become aware of their surroundings. How do you effectively do something that celebrates the Bow River? What do you do? I mean, the river itself is such a powerful thing. It's got sound, it's got motion. Even in the winter when it freezes up, it's got a monumentality to it. What I decided to do here was reflect Calgarians to Calgarians. So I put out a call for people to pose in the river that would be submerged actually in the river. And I interviewed a lot of people in terms of what the river meant to them. So I talked to them. And I got incredible stories of people who use the bridges and the river as a place to go, or a place that they have to encounter by going to work and traversing the bridges and the river. And so I have people that are, a chef, a librarian, a social worker, an accountant. There's 13 images of people that grace this kind of linear demarcation of where CMLC has situated their sites along the river and on bridge abutments. And they're big. I mean, the biggest images are 13 feet by 36 feet, which functions in the public realm.
It creates dialogue, and it creates people talking to one another, having different opinions. And it's when that happens that I think people grow a lot closer, find common ground, and it just makes for a really rich environment.
The minute you go out into the public, people can love you or hate you, And it's totally based on emotion, and it's immediate.
If it wasn't talked about, it wouldn't be interesting. And so you need to have things to talk about. You do need some of those controversial pieces. Otherwise you have nothing to say to each other, I think it's great.